The girl gets mad and says, wait a minute. Just because I'm dressed this way does not make me a whore. Gentlemen, that is true. Just because they dress a certain way doesn't mean they are a certain way. Don't ever forget it. But ladies, you must understand that is confusing. Now that would be like me, Dave Chappelle the comedian, walking around the streets in a cop uniform. Somebody might run up on me. Oh, thank God. Officer, help us. Come on, they're over here. Help us. I'm like, just because I'm dressed this way does not make me a police officer. Fine. You are not a whore. But you are wearing a whore's uniform, I'll tell you that.
Women and accountability. And before you say it, I know these are two words that seem like they don't belong together. In fact, they are rarely used together in the same sentence. Unless it's a talking head on the internet trying to explain to a woman how she lacks accountability.
You've seen it, I've seen it, we've all seen it. The dreaded lack of accountability in women. Or
it's a meme or joke about women having a hard time taking accountability.
And take home $100,000. Clap it up. Clap it up. You deserve it. You deserve it. Are you ladies ready for your final challenge? All right, ladies.
Let's go.
That's right, ladies. Today, you will be taking accountability.
It's over with.
But why is that? Could it be due to the fact that from the time a female is born, she lives in a totally different reality than a man?
This goes back to childhood. A little girl is raised to be able to get away with more things than a boy. A little girl can lie, get caught in that lie, and be let off the hook way easier than a boy simply because she's a girl. Her punishments will typically be way more lenient than a boy. Boys are raised almost from the start to take accountability, and that is key.
I mean, think about it. When a little girl is a child, she learns that when she cries, the whole world stops for her. People will run to her assistance wanting to know what's wrong, how she feels, and what they can do to fix it for her. Now, we all know that this isn't the same reality for little boys. As a little boy, when you fall, what they say, pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and keep running. If there's a problem, figure it out. You see, little boys learn at a young age that nobody's coming to your aid simply because you're crying. We don't care if it hurts. We don't care how you feel. And whatever it is you're going through, figure it out. You're a man. But for the majority of women, this is a pattern of behavior that can carry over way into adulthood.
In today's society, we're force-fed this narrative of female empowerment, and I get it to a certain extent, but we are seriously missing the mark when that empowerment is mistaken for entitlement and accountability is thrown out the window. We're caught up in a world that shields women from accountability, a world that allows, encourages, and even incentivizes them to escape from the consequences of their actions. See, women always like to talk about double standards when it suits them. However, they fail to realize the double standards that are out here that work in their favor. This disparity subconsciously teaches little girls a sense of entitlement. This teaches her that she can get away with anything simply because of her gender. They learn to avoid responsibility, thinking that they're like exempt from consequences just because they're females. It's a toxic cycle that's carried into adulthood. The result is a world where too many women think that they can avoid taking responsibility in relationships, jobs, and life in general, all while blaming someone else.
And can be weaponized in ways that can affect personal relationships, friendships, and their professional lives. I mean, think about it. Even as adults, when we see a woman cry, it just hits different. I mean, take a man and a woman both placed in the exact same scenario. Let's say it's the old story of being stranded on the highway, having car problems. Now, I'd be willing to bet money that there are going to be more people willing to stop and assist the woman than there are going to be that are willing to stop and assist the man. And of course, we all know that woman who can cry on command, who could cry literally at the drop of a dime.
Fishbone, fish. Oh, yeah.
If she wants attention, she cries. So what she got caught cheating red-handed? She'll just cry. If she's arguing with her husband and has no valid point and has painted herself in the corner and can't get out, guess what? You guessed it, she cries. And God forbid somebody actually try to hold her accountable for some action that she committed or a decision that she made, because guess what? She cries.
Down. Now, Wanda. Cool it, Mama. I'm working this week.
Now, sticking with this narrative that women live in a completely different reality than men. You see, a lot of women don't understand that a lot of doors are open for them in life because they are a woman. Not because of skill, not because of intelligence, and not because she's done anything great or significant at all, but simply because she's a woman. The world tends to acquiesce to her being the more fragile being. I mean, think about it. When I say that doors are open for them, I mean that both figuratively and literally. I'm a woman. Of course I expect you to open doors for me, no matter how far away I am from that door, regardless to whether or not I'm appreciative or even say thanks. And if I don't, you probably don't deserve it. I'm a woman. Of course, if you see me carrying a lot of grocery bags, I expect you to stop what you're doing to come and help me. And you call yourself a real man? I'm a woman. Of course I want to do everything a man does, and if it's too hard for me, I expect you to bend and twist rules to make it so that I have the same equal chance to advance like you. I'm a woman. Of course I don't want you to forget the fact that at any moment, I reserve the right to feel offended by any of these actions you take, because guess what? I may be a woman, but I'm just as smart as you. I can do whatever you can do and probably better. So even with just these few things we've discussed so far, hey you, yeah you, watching the content. First of all, let me tell you, I appreciate each and every viewer. You could have been anywhere else in the world, but you chose to be here with me. And with that being said, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and become a part of the family. Smash that like button like a contestant on Family Feud trying to get the #1 answer.
When y'all leave, we still got to use this.
And don't forget to turn on the notifications so you don't miss when I drop new content. This helps the channel grow so that we can get into the algorithm and reach a broader audience. The goal here is to spread the good news of the gospel of Jesus Christ and to encourage believers to study more for themselves to develop a closer relationship and walk with God. Thanks in advance. Now back to the video. One can see how it would be easy to become delusional.
This is what's at the cornerstone of female liberation, Me Too, feminism, etc. Always somebody else's mistake, someone else's fault, never their own. And this narrative is so pervasive that it has successfully infected society to its core. Society has given women an abundance of choices, and the downside is the more choices you tend to have, the less accountability you feel like you have to take because you can always hide behind another choice.
In the sense of thinking that simply because you're a woman that you're entitled to a certain type of treatment. And looking through that lens, it's no wonder in 2024 that we're dealing with the type of woman that feels justifiably entitled to a lot of things that the average man has to work for or has to earn. And speaking of justified, because women are taught at an early age and made to think that how they feel justifies their action, coupled with the fact that they are emotional beings that are mostly loyal to how they feel, a woman can justify almost anything she does wrong or right, but mostly wrong, with her feelings. Bust the windows out your car, burn the house down, slash the tires. I was mad. Keep falling for the same lies and games all their lives and going in and out of failed relationships. I don't know what's wrong, girl. It felt like I was in love. I just don't know why I keep falling in love with the wrong type of man. And women also have this thing about them wherein they want to be treated equal to a man until it's not convenient for them. When it comes to pay, advancement opportunity, and authority, oh, I can do whatever a man can do, even better. It's giving boss lady vibes. You see, women want to benefit from equality in every avenue, except for when it comes to actually being equally treated like their male counterparts. And because women are loyal to their emotions,
This is why I say the vast majority of women are narcissistic in nature, and I've gotten a lot of hate from that. For anyone who doesn't believe me, let me throw some facts your way to prove my point. Number 1, female narcissists tend to hate when they're not the center of attention, and they go to excessive lengths to make sure that the spotlight is focused on them. Doesn't this sum up damn near 80% of females on social media and in society?
and they live in a false sense of reality where how they feel actually means something, it's almost literally impossible for them to be at fault or to take blame for anything that happens to them in their lifetime. Women have the advantage of not having to face immediate consequences for their actions, behaviors, or their decisions. Want to have sex without worrying about having a baby? You got birth control. You know, for that period in life when I was just trying to find myself, slip up and do get pregnant and decide that you're just not ready for a child, abortion. My body, my choice. But if I do have this baby, you're responsible for it regardless. Step up and be a man. Let's say you do decide to keep the baby and the man decides he doesn't want to be in a relationship with you. Not to worry, you'll get government assistance and child support. I'm a woman. Of course, I'm gonna take advantage of the government assistance and child support. Of course, I don't think anybody should be concerned with the fact that I'm gonna weaponize your child against you, and also with no thought of the long-term ramifications of the effect that it's gonna have on the child in the future. Say you do get married, and 10 years later, you decide that you want out. Yeah, you want a divorce, it's cool. You just need to take half of whatever the man has and do it all under the veil of the fact that you are unhappy. It's cool. I don't know. I just don't feel happy, and I deserve to feel happy. Because of this, you see, it's easy for in every situation a woman to be a victim, because this is how she literally sees herself, as a victim. So it's to come as no shock or surprise that she actually believes that she is a victim.
Number 3, female narcissists tend to self-victimize. How many men are locked up right now because a woman provoked him, and then when he actually finally reacted, she played the victim? These men are locked away, their futures and records ruined because a woman refused to accept her part in a situation. Instead of admitting that she provoked him, she cries victim. Instead of owning her consent, she regrets it and then later screams.
You see, a woman can have 10 failed relationships with 10 different men and have the audacity of pointing out each and every reason that the men were responsible or the men were to blame. Girl, he just don't communicate. He too controlling. I just don't know why I keep getting these broke men. And not once reflect on her own responsibility or accountability in these situations. The narrative easily becomes, men are trash. Girl, I swear, it just ain't no good men out there no more. But how about you make better decisions in picking a partner? How about taking some time to heal instead of jumping from relationship to relationship and get to know yourself for who you are? How about doing some genuine self-reflection when it comes to a repeated pattern of behavior and focusing on the things that you could have done better? You see, all these things that I mentioned and a few more that I haven't make it hard for a woman to not only take accountability, but also identify her own character flaws, some learned and some inherent by her nature. Now that word nature is very important. Why, you may ask? Well, if you want to know that, let's look no further than the Bible. Proverbs 31:10 read, "Who can find a virtuous woman? For her price is far above rubies." That was the King James Version. I'm also going to give you a rendering from the Message version of the Bible. Same verse from the Message translation. It reads, "A good woman is hard to find and more valuable than diamonds." Now, I usually don't read both versions, but for this topic's purpose, I felt like it was needed. You see, women hate to deal with the fact that by nature, they're simply not all inherently good. Most women are masters at emoting, meaning acting out or expressing their emotions. And most women are masterful manipulators, having learned this skill at a very young age and perfecting it throughout their lives. So to really get a good grasp of the concept that I'm trying to convey tonight, we gotta go back to the beginning. And no, I'm not talking about from the point she was born. I'm talking about way back to the beginning, to where it all started in the Garden of Eden with Adam and Eve. Yeah, that beginning. You see, my dad jokingly always says that no woman can or ever will be better than the first woman that was ever created, which we all hopefully can agree that was Eve. Now we're gonna take a quick peek into Eve's story in the garden in Genesis, where it all began. Now God forms Adam in his own image from the dust of the earth. Adam not only gets the total responsibility of naming every creature, every living thing creeping, crawling on the earth, but also gets the direct command from God about not eating from or going near the forbidden tree. And at some point, God looks down on Adam and says, "It's not good that man should be alone." Enter Eve. Genesis chapter 2 verse 18 reads, "And the Lord God said, it's not good that man should be alone. I will make a helpmeet for him." So at this point in Eve's life, her only purpose, her only responsibility, and her only direction is to be a helpmeet for Adam. And also to keep God's one and only command to not eat of that tree. Eve's sole responsibility is to be a helpmate to Adam. Now, in the midst of Adam naming all the creatures and keeping God's command, before Eve hits the scene, there's no mention in the Bible of Adam thinking about the tree, looking at the tree, talking about the tree, not even walking close by the tree. But in Genesis chapter 3, things take a very dark turn, because somehow Eve gets off to herself, away from Adam. And no doubt, away from Adam means somewhere near that tree. And of course, she's away from Adam. I mean, it's most likely that Adam doesn't even go near that tree. Now here's where we cut Eve some slack, because after all, God didn't directly command her not to eat from the tree. It's most likely that Eve got the command secondhand from Adam. So surely it's not her fault that she's wandered so far out of the sight of Adam near this tree. Or is it? I mean, up until this point in the story, we know that Eve's only responsibility was to be a helpmate to Adam. And we know that Eve is clearly neglecting this responsibility, because at this time, she's nowhere near Adam. So Eve makes her own decision to go off near this tree. And this is where Satan beguiles her. You see, because Eve had secondhand information and she didn't get the command directly from God, she really didn't have all the details in order. It was easy for her to be confused and beguiled by Satan, because she was unclear to what the rule actually was. So Satan begins to talk to Eve, telling her beautiful lies sprinkled with half-truths. Now here's a few mistakes that Eve has made up to this point. One, she shucks the duty and responsibility that she has to be a helpmate to Adam. Two, she's wandered off away from Adam due to her own lust. Three, she's entertaining a conversation from a stranger, something she's never talked to before ever up until this point. Now, Eve has a chance to be accountable here. She could easily go back to her duty, go back to her covering, go back to her protector, Adam, and say, "Hey, listen, I wandered too far off from you, and not only did I wander too far off from you, I got this serpent over here trying to talk to me about eating from this tree." But Eve shucks all of that and takes matters in her own hand when she decides that the tree is good to eat from, and also one desired to make one wise. So she decides to eat the fruit. Here's Eve's second chance to say, even at this point, go back to Adam and say, "I wandered far away from you. I entertained the conversation from another, and I ate of that tree that you told me that God said we weren't supposed to." But what does Eve do? None of those above. Instead, you know that old saying, misery loves company? She uses her influence over Adam, the one that she's supposed to be partnered with, in order to manipulate him into doing the same thing. Now, like I said, since I'm gonna be doing a video on men, we're only focused on the accountability of women this video. So please don't get in the comment section saying, but what about the man? Because this video is solely pointed at the woman right now. We will be doing a video concerning the downfall and the mistakes that man has made, but right now we're talking about women and women's role in accountability. So as a result of the woman's lack of accountability, God assesses all the information, and when he gets ready to hand down judgment, we're going to be focusing on what the judgment for the woman was. And it goes as follows. He says to the woman, because of this thing that you have done, your sorrows shall be greatly multiplied at birth, meaning you're going to have birth pains. And not only that, your desire will be towards your husband. Not only that, he shall rule over you. Now, what's important about that scripture is this. Before Eve was supposed to be a helpmate to Adam, but still, God did not directly command her to do this. This was not a lawful order. She was just created with that purpose. But here, when God passes judgment, because of the sin, because of the lack of accountability, she now is charged with the responsibility and duty to have a desire to her husband, to have him rule over her. So what are you saying, Higher Heights? I'm saying this. It's simple. When a woman is truly spiritually mature, when she truly understands who she is and who she is no longer insecure. She's not bothered by the fact that God commands her desires to be unto her husband. She's not worried about the fact that God commands her to be submissive to her husband and that her husband has to rule over her. A spiritually mature woman understands that one of her character flaws that is innate by nature is for her to be easily tricked and manipulated when she has no covering, provision, and protection. She embraces the pleasures of womanhood and delights herself in the duty and responsibility of being a wife and a helpmate, and doesn't look at being submissive as a dirty word. She doesn't blame the man or make the man the enemy for her poor judgment and decision making. Rather, she respects and honors him. And because she's spiritually mature, she breaks the curse of the woman that's in the world who is constantly fighting to usurp man's authority, who is constantly fighting in this feminist movement, who is constantly struggling with having to be masculine when her natural desire is to be feminine, when her natural desire is to be loving, caring, and nurturing. She no longer is under the bondage and the stronghold of that curse when she becomes spiritually mature, which allows her to be accountable, which allows her to make self-assessments, which allows her to be a more perfect version of herself. Let me know in the comments what you think. If you got something from this, let me know in the comments. If you don't agree with what I've said, let me know in the comments. I want to hear your thoughts. And remember, I did say that I'm going to do a video breaking down what the man did wrong, how the man failed, and the man's accountability in this too. This video was strictly to the women and for them to take accountability, for them to self-assess. And I pray that you got something from this. Until next time, y'all be blessed.